Love story on the way to work in the bustling heart of the city, where the morning sun peeked through the tall skyscrapers. Commuters surged like a river into the subway station. Among them was Sarah, a diligent marketing executive who had grown accustomed to the daily grind. Every morning, she navigated the crowded platform, her mind already racing with the tasks ahead. Little did she know, this particular commute would change her life forever. As the train screeched to a halt, Sarah stepped inside, clutching her briefcase and hoping for a quiet ride. The usual crowd was there, tired faces buried in phones, some lost in their thoughts, while others chatted animatedly. Sarah found a spot near the door and adjusted her scarf, preparing for the journey ahead. Just then, a tall figure squeezed in beside her. He was slightly out of breath, his dark hair tousled and his eyes bright with a hint of excitement. "Sorry, is this seat taken?" he asked, glancing at the small space beside her. "No, go ahead," Sarah replied, surprised at the warmth in his voice. She studied him as he settled in. He wore a crisp white shirt, and there was a charming, boyish quality about him. "Thanks. I'm Jake, by the way," he said, offering a friendly smile. "Sarah," she introduced herself, feeling a flutter of curiosity. They fell into easy conversation, discussing the usual small talk, the weather, their jobs, and their favorite coffee spots. Sarah found herself laughing more than she had in weeks. There was something refreshing about Jake. He had an infectious energy that drew her eye. As the train rocked gently along the tracks, Sarah began to notice the little things about him. The way he gestured animatedly when he spoke, the slight crinkle at the corners of his eyes when he smiled, and how he genuinely listened as she shared her thoughts. It felt so comfortable, like she had known him forever. "Do you always take this line?" Jake asked, leaning slightly closer, his interest piqued. "Every day. It's part of my routine," Sarah admitted. "I work in marketing at a tech company." "Ah, the exciting world of tech." "I'm in graphic design, so I guess we're kind of in the same boat," he replied, enthusiasm evident in his voice. The train lurched to a stop, and they both stood, preparing to exit. "Well, it was great meeting you, Sarah," Jake said, his eyes lingering on hers. "Maybe I'll see you again tomorrow?" A thrill shot through her. "I hope so," she replied, smiling as she stepped out onto the platform. The connection they had felt almost surreal, but she brushed it off as a fleeting moment in her busy life. The next morning, Sarah found herself anxiously waiting at the same spot on the platform, a flutter of anticipation in her stomach. When the train arrived, she scanned the crowd, her heart sinking slightly when she didn't see Jake. But as the doors slid open, there he was, a grin spreading across his face. "Sarah, I was hoping I'd catch you," he exclaimed, stepping inside beside her. They fell back into conversation seamlessly, and over the next few days, their morning meetings became the highlight of Sarah's routine. With each passing morning, they shared more about their lives, dreams, and aspirations. Jake spoke of his passion for design and how he dreamed of starting his own agency. Sarah shared her desire to travel the world, to explore new cultures and experiences. One Friday morning, as they boarded the train, Jake turned to Sarah with a mischievous glint in his eye. "What do you say to a little adventure this weekend?" "Adventure?" Sarah echoed, intrigued. "Yeah. There's this amazing art exhibit opening downtown. I thought it might be fun to check it out together," he suggested, his excitement palpable. Her heart raced. "That sounds great. I'd love to." As the weekend approached, Sarah could hardly contain her excitement. The thought of spending time with Jake filled her with a sense of joy she hadn't felt in a long time. They met at the exhibit, and the chemistry between them was undeniable. They wandered through the gallery, discussing each piece, their laughter echoing off the walls. After the exhibit, they found a quaint cafe nearby, where they settled into a cozy corner table. Over coffee and pastries, they talked about their lives outside of work, their families, and their hopes for the future. Sarah found herself opening up to Jake in ways she hadn't anticipated. He made her feel safe, understood, and genuinely cared for. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the city, Jake reached across the table, his fingers lightly brushing against hers. "I'm really glad we met, Sarah. You've made my mornings so much brighter." Sarah's heart fluttered. "I feel the same way. I didn't realize how much I needed this connection until you came along." In that moment, surrounded by the chatter of the cafe and the soft glow of the evening light, Jake leaned in closer. "Can I kiss you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded, her breath catching in her throat. As their lips met, it felt like fireworks exploding in the air around them. It was sweet and tender, a perfect culmination of the chemistry they had built over the past week. As they pulled away, both of them were smiling, a shared understanding passing between them. "So, what now?" Sarah asked, feeling a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "I guess we take this one day at a time," Jake replied, his eyes sparkling. "But I'd like to see where this goes." Over the next few weeks, their relationship blossomed. They continued to meet every morning on the train, sharing stolen moments and glances, and their weekends became filled with adventures, from exploring art galleries to hiking in the nearby hills. Each day brought new experiences, and Sarah felt as though she was discovering a new part of herself with Jake by her side. However, as with any story, challenges began to arise. Jake's graphic design agency started to take off, leading to longer hours and increased stress. Meanwhile, Sarah found herself buried in a major campaign at work, leaving little time for their usual morning chats. Their once easygoing relationship began to feel strained under the weight of their responsibilities. One morning, as they boarded the train, Sarah sensed the tension in the air. Jake was preoccupied, his eyes glued to his phone, which only deepened her worry. "Hey, everything okay?" she asked, trying to bridge the gap that had formed between them. "Yeah, just a lot on my plate," he replied, distracted. The conversation felt forced, and Sarah's heart sank. She missed the connection they had built, the laughter and spontaneity that had drawn them together. As the weeks went on, their interactions became more about logistics than genuine connection. The spark that had once ignited their mornings was dimming point one Friday. After a particularly tense week, Jake texted Sarah, asking her to meet at their usual cafe. When she arrived, he was already there, looking more serious than usual. "Sarah, I think we need to talk," he began, his voice heavy with concern. Her heart raced. "What's wrong?" "I've been feeling overwhelmed with work, and I don't want that to affect us." "I care about you too much for that," he confessed, running a hand through his hair. "I feel it too." "I miss the way things were," Sarah admitted, her voice trembling. "But I don't want to lose what we have." Jake leaned closer, his eyes earnest. "Neither do I. What if we made a pact? No matter how busy we get, we commit to spending at least one day a week together, just us. No distractions." Sarah smiled, relief washing over her. "I'd like that. We can make it our us day." With renewed determination, they began to carve out time for each other amidst their hectic schedules. They explored new restaurants, attended art workshops, and even took weekend trips to nearby towns. Each moment spent together reignited the spark that had first drawn them to each other. As the seasons changed, so did their relationship. The initial excitement of new love blossomed into a deeper connection, filled with understanding, support, and shared dreams. One crisp autumn afternoon, as they strolled through a park adorned in vibrant fall colors, Jake paused and turned to Sarah. "You know, I never expected to find someone like you on my way to work." "Neither did I," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with affection. "I want you to know how much you mean to me." "I can't imagine my mornings without you," he confessed, taking her hands in his. "Me too, Jake. You've brought so much joy into my life," she replied, her voice soft yet steady. In that moment, surrounded by falling leaves and warm sunlight, Jake knelt down on one knee. Sarah gasped, her heart racing as he pulled out a delicate ring. "Sarah, will you make every morning of my life better by saying you'll be with me, always?" Tears of happiness filled her eyes as she nodded. "Yes. Yes, I will." As she slipped the ring onto her finger, they embraced, knowing that this love story, which had begun on the way to work, was only the beginning of a beautiful journey together. From that day forward, their daily commutes were no longer just about the destination. They had become a cherished part of their lives, a reminder of the love that had blossomed amidst the hustle and bustle of the city.